What if a single shift in how you think, how you feel, could actually unravel years of struggle? I mean, what if the key to unlocking the life you really want isn't some, complex strategy out there, but an internal principle? Something as fundamental as gravity. Sounds pretty dramatic, maybe even unbelievable, right? But that's exactly the kind of extraordinary claim at the heart of the material we're diving into today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is the show where we sift through articles, research, fascinating sources, really, to pull out those powerful nuggets of knowledge and insight. We want to give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed. And today, our journey takes us into the really profound insights of In Row, which, well, it translates to The Secret, our mission. To unpack its most compelling ideas, give you some actionable understanding, and maybe, just maybe, spark some genuine aha moments. The kind that could really reshape how you approach your world. We're not just scratching the surface here. We're aiming to get the nuances, the how, the why, straight from the source itself. Okay, let's really unpack this.
What's immediately striking about Ichu is just how bold it is. It really challenges our most ingrained beliefs about how life actually works. Most of us, sort of by default, operate like life just happens to us, right? We see ourselves as, well, reactive, pushed and pulled by circumstances, external forces, maybe just plain luck. But Dunchu proposes this really radical shift in perspective, almost an inversion. It basically says that our internal world, our thoughts, our feelings, our dominant beliefs, they aren't just observing reality. They're actively creating it. It's a huge paradigm shift, isn't it? From being a passenger to becoming the conscious architect of your own experience.
And it suggests this isn't just some, abstract philosophy. It's presented as a universal law, as consistent and unwavering as, say, cause and effect, or even gravity, like I mentioned. The core idea, the real foundation that Strutt centers on, is what it calls the law of attraction. Though it presents it with a certain depth, I think. It's this idea that whatever you consistently focus your thoughts on, whatever emotional state you're mostly living in, whatever you deeply believe, you're essentially vibrating at a specific frequency. And that frequency, according to Wetzra, acts like a magnet. It pulls in experiences, people, circumstances that are a vibrational match. So it's not just think positive. It's really about understanding your dominant energetic output.
Yes, and that's where Itrap makes a really critical distinction, I feel. It goes way beyond that simplistic think good thoughts, get good things. Instead, it introduces something it calls the emotional resonance scale. The book spends quite a bit of time explaining that thoughts might initiate things, sure, but emotion, that's the real fuel, the driver of attraction. It doesn't just categorize emotions as good or bad. It puts them on a spectrum, like a vibrational frequency spectrum, from despair and feeling like a victim way down at the bottom, but all the way up through gratitude, joy, and ultimately this state of just absolute knowing. And the crucial insight, the real takeaway here, is that you can intellectually think you want something, but if your dominant emotional state is, say, doubt or worry or lack, that stronger emotional frequency, it's going to override the thought every time. The book actually gives specific exercises, calls them conscious resonance exercises, designed to help you deliberately shift that emotional state, even when, your external reality doesn't yet match what you want.
Right. So it's not enough to just say, I want abundance, if deep down you feel stressed about money, worried every single day. Akioch argues the universe, or this underlying law, whatever you want to call it, it responds to the feeling, the dominant resonance. Like there's this one exercise, the gratitude shift. It's fascinating. It's not about pretending to be grateful for stuff you don't have. It's about actively looking for and genuinely feeling profound gratitude for every bit of abundance already in your life, no matter how small it seems. The book tells this story about a woman, Sarah, who was deep in debt, just drowning. And instead of obsessing over the debt, the advice from Sarah was to spend 10 minutes morning and night just listing everything she was grateful for. The hot water in her shower, a beautiful sunset she saw, anything. And within weeks, apparently, her emotional state just started to shift noticeably from despair toward hope, and then this subtle feeling of abundance, even before the money situation actually changed. That feeling became her new vibrational set point.
Which really brings up a critical question, doesn't it? What assumptions are we holding on to, maybe without even realizing it, that stop us from fully embracing this? Maybe we've just been conditioned, conditioned to believe life is a struggle, or that hard work, just grinding it out, is the only thing that dictates success. Or maybe that focusing on problems is just being realistic. That's not dismiss effort, not at all, but it reframes it. It suggests that effort coming from a place of worry or struggle, that often just creates more resistance. Whereas effort that comes from, joyful expectation from being aligned, That's way more powerful, way more effective. It's a challenging idea, for sure, because it puts the control firmly back on our internal state, not external circumstances. And that can feel, well, both incredibly empowering and, maybe initially, a bit overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. And if you ever felt stuck, truly stuck in a loop you just couldn't break, maybe with money or relationships, your job, even just your day-to-day mood, this idea is probably hitting home right now because it implies that you actually have the power, the agency, to break that loop. It's not about escaping the hamster wheel by running faster and faster. It's about understanding that the wheel itself is, in a way, reflecting your own internal programming. Hey, actually, drop a ha in the comments if you've been there, if you know that feeling of being caught in a pattern. We've all had those moments, right? Where it feels like you're just stuck on repeat. This material suggests the key to unlocking that, to finding freedom, is actually inside you by consciously tuning your emotional and mental frequency. Okay, so once we start to wrap our heads around this pretty profound idea that our thoughts and feelings are like these powerful tuning forks for reality, the next logical question is, all right, how do I do this? What are the actual mechanics? How do I put it into practice? And it doesn't just leave you hanging with the theory. It offers a very precise 3-step framework. It calls it the creative process. Ask, believe, receive. Let's break down ask first, because Eichgre makes it really clear. This isn't just passive wishing, not at all. It's about clarity. It's about real intention. Think of it like placing an order, with the universe or your subconscious, whatever works for you. You wouldn't go into a restaurant and just vaguely mumble, I want some food, would you? No, you'd specify. I'd like the Tuscan chicken, please, with the roasted vegetables and the sparkling water. The book actually has this powerful exercise, the clarity map. It guides you to sit down and really detail what you desire, meticulously. In every part of your life, health, relationships, career, money, personal growth, everything. And it encourages using all your senses. What does it look like, feel like, sound like? Even what does it smell like? This isn't just thinking about it. It's about engaging your whole being in the ask.
There's this great anecdote in A Calf about a struggling artist. He used this clarity map to visualize his dream studio. Down to the specific north-facing window, the smell of turpentine, even the exact quality of the natural light.
And within months, he found a studio space that matched his vision almost perfectly. A space that had apparently been empty and overlooked for years.
And that level of detail in the asking phase, it's fascinating because it actually aligns pretty well with some neurological principles, specifically how our reticular activating system, the RAS, works. When you intensely visualize something, when you really imprint it emotionally, you're essentially programming your RAS. That's the part of your brain that filters incoming information. It acts like a, sophisticated internal search engine. You're priming your brain to notice things, opportunities, conversations, little nudges that line up with that dominant mental blueprint you've created. It's not exactly magic, but it's like creating a strong neurological bias. Your brain starts actively filtering for and highlighting what you've told it is important. Stuff it might have otherwise just dismissed as background noise.
That makes so much sense, like creating an internal GPS specifically for your desires. Okay, so next up is the believe step. And the GNS calls this the most critical part, often the hardest part too. And this isn't just, intellectually accepting it, okay, I believe. No, it's a deep, unwavering emotional conviction, a feeling that what you've asked for is already yours, or it's absolutely undeniably on its way. The book introduces another exercise here, the future memory technique. You spend, say, 10 to 15 minutes every day just immersing yourself in what it feels like to already have your desire. The sights, the sounds, the emotions, that sense of relief or joy or accomplishment. The U.S. argues this isn't just daydreaming, it's literally building new neural pathways. You're creating a memory of a future event that's so potent your subconscious starts to accept it as real. You need to feel the security of financial abundance now. Feel the joy of that perfect relationship now. Even if your bank account or your dating life doesn't reflect it yet, that feeling is the crucial vibrational signature you need to send out.
And the why behind focusing so much on this emotional belief, it's profound, really. The book suggests that the universe, or maybe life itself, fundamentally operates like an echo. What you send out in terms of your dominant thoughts and emotions, you just get back. It's a feedback loop. So if you're thinking positively, but you feel doubt deep down, well, the doubt is the stronger emotional frequency. That's what gets transmitted. The nuance here is key. Belief isn't just positive thoughts. It's the feeling that powers those thoughts. Emotion is the fuel, right? It's what electrifies the thought and turns it into a vibrational reality that can attract its match. It's all about becoming a vibrational match to what you desire before it shows up in your physical world.
It really is. And the book gives such vivid examples. There's one story about a young entrepreneur needed to land a specific investor, a crucial deal. Instead of just fixating on a lack of funding, the worry, he spent weeks deliberately feeling the relief and excitement of having the deal already closed. He even wrote thank you notes to the investor in his journal, as if it had already happened. So when the actual meeting finally took place, he didn't walk in desperate. He walked in with this quiet confidence, this expectation. And the book really stresses that this consistency, this inner work, the daily practice of future memory, the gratitude shift, that's the key. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's like cultivating a whole new way of being.
Which brings us neatly to the third step, receive. Now, it clarifies this doesn't mean just sitting back and passively waiting for things to fall out of the sky. It means being open, being receptive, recognizing opportunities when they show up, and crucially, often taking inspired action. It's about getting into alignment first and then moving when you feel that intuitive nudge, that pull. It's different from forced grinding effort. It feels more like flow. Action that arises naturally because you're already lined up with your desires. For instance, the book talks about a writer who visualized her book hitting the bestseller list. She wasn't just sitting idle, meditating all day. She felt this sudden, strong urge to attend a specific writing workshop she hadn't considered before. And there, she happened to meet an editor who absolutely loved her manuscript. The action felt effortless, almost guided, like following a path that was already lit up for her. But that feeling came because her internal state was already aligned with the outcome she wanted. It's about recognizing the path as it unfolds.
Okay, let's pause for just a second here. Take a quick moment right now. What's one area in your life where you feel stuck? Just acknowledge it. Let it sit for a moment. Don't try to fix it. Don't analyze it. Just notice it. And now, just imagine, even for a split second, what would it feel like if that area was suddenly free, clear, abundant, exactly how you want it to be? Try and hold on to that feeling, even if it's just fleeting. Now, obviously, with a concept this big, this powerful, it's totally understandable that people run into roadblocks, snags, especially if they kind of misinterpret the core message. And Osho is actually pretty upfront about these common pitfalls of these misunderstandings that can really derail your efforts. It makes it clear it's definitely not a magic wand, and the book works hard to distinguish its principles from just, wishful thinking or an excuse to do nothing. Yeah, one of the biggest traps, according to Osho, is what it calls passive wishing. And someone might declare, okay, universe, I want my dream job, and then they just sit on the couch, waiting for the phone to ring or an email to magically appear. The book warns against this explicitly, calls it the wishing well fallacy. It clarifies again and again. It's not about wishing. It's about focused intention backed by that unwavering belief and, crucially, the consistent feeling. Another huge mistake is focusing on the lack, constantly thinking about what's missing. If your main thoughts are always, I don't have enough money, or I'm always sick, or why am I so lonely? Well, in essence, you're vibrating at the frequency of not enough, or illness, or loneliness. And according to this law, you'll just attract more circumstances that match that vibration. Geeth offers this really useful technique called the reframe. So instead of saying, I don't want to be sick anymore, you actively reframe it. You state, I am feeling vibrant health flowing through me. And then this is the key part. You have to access the feeling of vibrant health as best you can. Because the energy you send out, the emotion behind the thought, that matters more than just the words if your feelings are saying something different.
That is such a crucial distinction. And what often gets misunderstood, too, is the whole idea of action. The book isn't saying, hey, ditch logic, don't bother putting in any effort. Not at all. Rather, it's emphasizing that you need to align your internal state first so that your actions become, well, more effective, more inspired. So they actually lead to the outcomes you want, but with more ease, less struggle. It draws a line between that desperate, needy kind of wishing, which always comes from a place of lack, versus clear, expectant intention, which comes from feeling abundant and trusting already. The nuanced understanding is that success isn't just about wishing for stuff. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts those things by shifting your internal state first and then acting from that new, aligned perspective. It definitely busts the myth that you can just think your way out of bed without actually, moving your body. Instead, it implies that your desire to get up, filled with real conviction, will naturally lead to that inspired urge to actually move.
Exactly. And there's a third pitfall, one that's maybe overlooked sometimes. Inconsistency. People try these principles out, for a day, maybe two. They don't see instant dramatic results and boom, they give up. See? Doesn't work. Coesco calls this the instant gratification trap. The source really hammers home that this is presented as a universal law, like gravity. You don't question gravity if you drop your keys and they take half a second to hit the floor right. It always works. But your consistent alignment with the law is what matters. It takes practice, persistence, patience. There's this compelling example in the book about a student trying to attract a scholarship. Initially, she'd visualize getting it for maybe 5 minutes, but then spend the entire rest of the day just worrying sick about her grades and the competition. Taught her she needed to maintain the feeling of already having that scholarship as much as possible throughout her day, even while studying, constantly catching herself, correcting her thoughts, shifting her feelings back to gratitude and certainty. And apparently, it took longer than she hoped, but the scholarship eventually came through from a totally unexpected source. It highlights that it's this continuous process, checking your thoughts, checking your feelings, making sure they're harmonizing with what you truly desire.
Indeed. And that really emphasizes that the journey, the process of becoming aligned, is actually part of the manifestation itself. It's about cultivating that inner environment where receiving becomes the natural outcome. So the real prerequisites for success, according to this book, aren't necessarily external things like having the right opportunities or connections lined up first. It's more about internal discipline, emotional mastery, consistent focus. That's a pretty significant takeaway, I think, for anyone looking to genuinely apply these principles.
If this deep dive is hitting home for you so far, if it's sparking something, do me a quick favor, just tap like and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and it lets me keep bringing you content like this, these deep dives every week. We're really passionate about digging into these sources, and honestly, your support makes it possible. Also, what kind of topics would you love to hear us explore next? Drop your suggestions below in the comments. We're always curious about what sparks your interest. Okay, let's shift gears a bit now. We've talked about the mechanics, the pitfalls. Let's get to the really inspiring part, the real-world implications, the actual impact people have reportedly experienced by applying these principles. Chew is just packed with these compelling anecdotes, these detailed case studies illustrating how these ideas have apparently transformed lives. Across so many different areas, it really tries to show it's not just theory, it's about demonstrated shifts in reality, sometimes in ways that seem almost miraculous. I mean, the book shares stories of people who completely turned their financial situations around, just revolutionized them. For example, Chuki tells the story of David, small business owner, right on the edge of bankruptcy. Things looked bleak, but instead of just focusing on the mounting debts, the panic, he rigorously applied the gratitude shift and the future memory exercises. He visualized his company thriving, really felt the excitement of abundance, expressed genuine gratitude for every single dollar that did come in, no matter how small. And the book details how gradually he started attracting unexpected contracts. He found innovative solutions to problems that seemed impossible before. He even received a significant, totally unsolicited investment that completely saved and turned around his business. The point wasn't that he magically won the lottery. It was about creating and sustaining an internal state of financial well-being, which then seemed to attract external results.
And what's really interesting there is how the book connects these outcomes directly back to the consistent application of the principles. For David, it wasn't just luck. It was apparently his unwavering commitment to managing his emotional state that opened him up to seeing opportunities he'd been blind to before, and maybe attracting business partners who resonated with his newfound confidence and vision. It makes a compelling case that when your internal reality shifts, your perception of and your actions within the external world inevitably transform too.
Absolutely. And it goes way beyond just money. AXAT has equally powerful stories about relationships, major transformations there too. There's the story of Maria. She'd struggled for years with chronic loneliness, went through a string of really unfulfilling relationships, felt hopeless. So using the clarity map, she got super specific about the qualities of her ideal partner, what that relationship would feel like, and then crucially, she practiced future memory. She deliberately cultivated the feeling, the profound joy and connection of already being in that relationship long before it showed up. And the story goes, within about a year, she met someone who embodied almost every single quality on her list. The book details how their relationship just blossomed, feeling effortless and deeply aligned right from the start. It suggests you really can consciously attract the right friendships or deepen family bonds or find that loving partner, simply by first cultivating that state of love, harmony, and connection within yourself. Being the vibrational match first.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these examples hint at a really profound shift in how we could approach problem solving or even achieving goals. Instead of just relentlessly pushing against external walls, fighting resistance, this philosophy encourages aligning yourself internally first. which then, theoretically, makes your external actions more effective, less effortful, more likely to succeed. It implies that a lot of the resistance we face actually originates from within us, from our own limiting beliefs, our negative emotional habits. And when those internal blocks are dissolved using practices like the emotional resonance scale or the reframe, the path forward just seems to clear up. External circumstances start to rearrange themselves almost to align with that new internal state.
And it even stretches into physical health, which is fascinating. Tell some pretty powerful instances where people facing serious illness focused intensely on images of perfect health, on the feeling of vitality, energy, well-being. One really notable account is about a man named John. He was battling a debilitating chronic condition, and he dedicated himself to this cellular visualization exercise from the book. He'd vividly imagine his body cells regenerating, glowing with perfect health. And he combined that with feeling profound gratitude for every tiny sign of improvement, no matter how small. Now, the book is careful this isn't presented as a substitute for medical care, obviously, but it documents his doctors being genuinely astonished at his accelerated recovery rate. Unexpected improvements they couldn't easily explain. It's presented as a powerful testament to that intricate mind-body connection, suggesting our thoughts and emotions play a much bigger role in our physical state than maybe we conventionally think.
The potential implications, if you take this seriously, are quite staggering, aren't they? Goshoa basically suggests that if enough people adopted this philosophy, really lived it, it could lead to collective shifts, improvements in societal well-being, maybe more innovation, potentially even greater global harmony, simply by raising the overall collective vibration. It really encourages you, the listener, to think about applying these insights to your own unique life, not just as a one-off experiment, but as an ongoing conscious practice. The sheer range of areas where this principle is reportedly effective, from material wealth to emotional states, from personal health to professional success, it really underscores its potential universality, according to the source.
It's a really compelling narrative, absolutely. And it's easy to get swept up in the incredible possibilities it holds out. But for many people, I think there's that immediate, maybe nagging question bubbling up.
Yeah.
Okay, but is this really real? How do we square these powerful ideas with a world that, let's be honest, often feels random, unfair, sometimes totally outside our control? And this is where implicitly and sometimes quite directly does seem to address that skepticism. It offers a more nuanced perspective rather than just demanding you take a leap of blind faith.
Yeah, the book doesn't really shy away from the fact that this whole concept can trigger significant resistance. It makes sense. We're often taught such a different way of seeing the world, aren't we? One based on hard work, struggle, external forces being in charge. So when something comes along and proposes that our thoughts have this immense power, well, it can feel almost too good to be true, or even, for some people, maybe a bit irresponsible. A really common doubt that Elastic tackles head-on is, well, what about bad things happening to good people? Are you saying they were just thinking negatively?
The book addresses this by emphasizing the law is impartial, like gravity. It doesn't judge, it just responds to the vibration you send out, whether that's conscious or, maybe more often, unconscious. It suggests that frequently it's our unconscious patterns, beliefs, and feelings soaked up over years from society or upbringing, past traumas that are actually running the show, things we might not even be aware of. Calls this the unconscious blueprint. It argues that much of what we attract is simply reflecting these deeply ingrained beliefs we don't even know we have. It's not about blame.
That's such a crucial point because it moves the conversation beyond simple blame or fault. And it raises that important question again. How do we integrate these potentially life-changing ideas with the reality of a world that often feels chaotic or outside our influence? The material seems to acknowledge that life throws curveballs. Challenges happen, but it frames them differently maybe as opportunities for growth, chances to refine your vibrational state, to strengthen your alignment. It's not about denying that difficult things happen. It's about changing your fundamental relationship to those things. It doesn't claim you'll suddenly become immune to adversity. Rather, it suggests you have the power to influence how you navigate adversity and consequently what you attract moving forward. It's a profound shift from feeling like a victim of circumstances to becoming a conscious creator of your experience. Integrating it requires, I think, a pragmatic view. This isn't magic like, defying physics. It's framed as a deeper understanding of how our inner world thoughts, feelings, beliefs interacts with and influences our outer experience. It boils down to taking radical responsibility for your internal landscape. Recognizing that while you can't control every single external event, you can control your response, your dominant energy, your vibration, which then influences what comes next.
Right. And another point of skepticism often revolves around the effort involved. People might think, well, if it's just about thinking, why do I need to actually do anything? The count counters this pretty effectively by reiterating that inspired action is absolutely part of the process. It's crucial. But it's a different kind of action than strenuous, forceful effort born from desperation. It's not about just sitting on your hands waiting. It's about acting when those intuitive nudges arrive, when the past lights up. Acting from a place of already feeling aligned, feeling good, feeling certain, rather than struggling and forcing things from a place of lack. The book uses an analogy, like a river. You can paddle furiously upstream, fighting the current, exhausting yourself. Or you can get in your boat, pointed downstream, and let the current carry you, making small, subtle steering adjustments along the way. That second option, that's inspired action. It's presented as this dynamic dance between getting your inner world right and then engaging with the outer world from that aligned place.
And the book goes even further, suggesting that skepticism itself, if it's your dominant state, can act as a powerful negative vibration. It can effectively block the very things you desire simply because your core belief is this won't work or this isn't real. Overcoming that often requires, well, personal experimentation, direct observation. You don't necessarily have to swallow it whole 100% right from the start. It actually invites you to become a conscious experimenter. Try applying the principles in small ways first, maybe in low-stakes areas of your life, and then rigorously, honestly, observe what happens. It's about becoming, in a sense, a scientist of your own consciousness. This really emphasizes that while the concept itself is profound, its ultimate validation really comes from your own personal experience, not just from intellectually agreeing with it. It's not really asking for blind faith. It's asking for open-minded exploration and seeing for yourself.
So thinking about all this, what's one belief from this deep dive that really challenged your thinking? Maybe made you pause. Let me know in the comments. I genuinely read every single one. It's always fascinating to see how these big ideas land differently for each of you and what resonates the most. Okay, so where does this leave us? What does all this mean for you right here, right now? We've taken a really deep dive today into ENSIF. We've explored its incredibly bold premise that your thoughts and your feelings aren't just internal noise. They are powerful, creative forces actively shaping your reality. We've unpacked the mechanics that ask, believe, receive, process, understanding just how critical that emotional resonance piece is. We've shown a light on the common pitfalls, the ways people can stumble, but also seen through anecdotes how profound the transformation can be when it clicks. And we've acknowledged that natural skepticism, trying to offer a balanced view. The core message, when you synthesize it all down, seems undeniably clear. You possess this incredible inherent power. The power to intentionally direct the course of your life. You're not just a passenger buffeted by waves. You are, in a very real sense, according to this source, the co-creator, the conscious architect. You're not just reacting to life, you're actively shaping it, moment by moment, thought by thought, feeling by feeling.
And this really isn't just about listening to interesting ideas, is it? It's about integration. It's about application. Knowledge is powerful, sure, but it's most valuable when it's understood deeply and then actually put into practice in your life. So as you move on from listening to this, maybe think, what's one small step, just one tiny thing you can do today, maybe even right now, a step towards intentionally shaping your thoughts or deliberately choosing your feelings, aiming them towards something you truly desire. Maybe it's just a 5-second future memory visualization of a goal you have, or taking a genuine moment of deep gratitude for something, anything you already possess. Or perhaps it's simply catching yourself falling into an old limiting thought pattern and consciously choosing to reframe it, just once. Choosing a thought that feels more empowering.
Exactly. What if you just gave yourself 5 seconds? 5 seconds of absolutely unwavering conviction today. 5 seconds to genuinely believe, to deeply feel, to consciously intend something positive for yourself, without any doubt creeping in, without hesitation, without reservation, just pure, focused intent. What would you choose to focus on in that 5 seconds? Think about that. And maybe, don't wait too long to try it. Perhaps the greatest secrets aren't really hidden away in ancient texts. Maybe they're just powerful truths, sitting right here, waiting for us to remember them, to reclaim them, and to use them. If this deep dive gave you something to think about, something to feel, maybe something to act on, please like, share, and leave a comment below. And remember, this is just the beginning.